All right, this is by far the most compelling drama storyline ahead of 49ers Jaguars. San Francisco defensive coordinator Robert Saleh noted very intentionally during his press conference on Thursday that Jacksonville and that coaching staff legally steals signals. The offensive coaching staff of the Jaguars, obviously against opposing defenses, because that's the matchup that Robert Saleh is gearing up for. And I think it's very, very clear that Saleh is sending Jacksonville a message ahead of this game. And it may not be the message that you think that he's sending. People are either thinking of this in terms of checkers or chess. Saleh is playing chess. He's one of the highest level chess playing defensive coordinators there is in the NFL. If you think he's playing checkers, he's just trying to pre-make excuses before the game against an offense that actually hasn't been that great this season. But he's sending a message on a deeper level. I'll analyze this, but first, let's have a listen at what Robert Saleh said yesterday.
Jacksonville, this is a very young, but it's a very talented group. Liam and his staff, coming from a couple of guys coming from Minnesota, they've got legally a really advanced signal stealing type system where they always find a way to put themselves in an advantageous situation. They do a great job with it. They formation you to try to find any nugget they can. So we've got to be great with our signals, and we got to be great with our communication, and to combat some of the tells that we might give on the field. So they're almost elite in that regard. That whole entire tree, from Sean to Kevin O'Connell to all those guys, they all do it. So so there's challenges. They're going to catch us in some situations where they have the advantage, and we just got to play good, sound, fundamental football and do our best to execute them.
Legally, he emphasized legally, but he went into essentially everything that we need to talk about now. He said a couple guys coming from Minnesota. Okay, so Grant Udinsky is the Jacksonville offensive coordinator under Liam Cohn. Grant Udinsky was in Minnesota last year. The Vikings played the Jets last year. I actually believe that was the last game before Robert Saleh got fired. I think that was the game that was played in London. So there's the connection that Robert Saleh made. He said guys from Minnesota who are now on Jacksonville's staff. And then he zoomed out to make this even more all-encompassing. And he said all the guys in that Sean McVay tree do something like this. The Sean McVay tree obviously includes Liam Cohn, who's the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was under Sean McVay as the assistant wide receivers coach and then as the assistant quarterbacks coach from 2018 to 2020. Cohn then came back to LA as the offensive coordinator in 2022. He was with Kentucky before and after then in 2021 and 2023. In 2024, he became Tampa Bay's offensive coordinator, saw success there with Baker Mayfield last year, and is now with Jacksonville, where he hired Grant Udinsky away from Minnesota. So let's unpack this. Saleh says that this coaching staff is especially good at reading tendencies, reading hand signals of opposing defenses, and then setting themselves up for explosive plays against certain formations that they think that they can exploit. Now, Saleh did continue to emphasize that things were legal. This is not a Patriots Spygate kind of thing. This is not something where they're illegally videotaping coaches or practice. This is something that the Jags and wherever this coaching staff has been or currently is, because the coaching tree is prolific around the NFL. They are very, very good at reading the tendencies of what these defenses are doing. They're very good at correlating hand signals to certain defensive activities on the field. This is the message that Robert Saleh, I think, is very obviously sending. He wants Jacksonville to know that he's very aware of how good they are at what they're doing. And if Jacksonville knows that, then he's sowing some seeds of doubt in Liam Cohen's mind, by extension in Trevor Lawrence's mind, because Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback that has to act on this intel that he's getting. And if Salah can sow some doubt in what Jacksonville's doing, he, by extension, will gain a little bit of a competitive advantage for the 49ers defense. If you can send the message to the Jaguars that we might be a step ahead of you in your sign stealing game. We might have changed some signs. We might have changed a lot of signs. We might have just changed a couple key signs. But if you can send the message that you're ready for it, Jacksonville might doubt themselves a little bit. It is potentially just a nuanced little edge that the 49ers can get, but we know that this is a game of inches. We know that football, when you go to the cerebral warfare that happens between coaching staffs, there's a lot more going on that isn't actually discussed in the press conference. But I think that Robert Saleh, in very, very intentionally, I think it was clear when you watched that clip, he paused a little bit. He said, okay, I'm going to get into this part now. And he delved into it. I think that this particular blow in the cerebral warfare happening between the 49ers and the Jaguars before the game was most effectively delivered through the press conference, because Robert knew that Jacksonville would pick up on it. He knew that the media would be interested in him saying sign stealing. He very clearly and very intentionally added the word legal a few times in his answer. He wanted to emphasize that everything that Jacksonville was doing was above board. There wasn't like an excuse-making mechanism. It wasn't something saying that Jacksonville is cheating. This was something directed right at the Jaguars to sow some doubt in their minds about what they're seeing from the 49ers on Sunday. If a certain hand signal from a safety normally means, okay, we're going to cover the seams and some of the sidelines are going to be open, now the Jaguars are probably going to have to think twice about whether it means that, because maybe the 49ers have changed up some of their signals. Even if they haven't changed up their signals, if you sow a little bit of doubt in the minds of a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, who hadn't been all that great over the course of his career, if you sow some doubt in his mind, then you could gain a competitive advantage. So I think that it's very clearly the goal of Robert Saleh to obfuscate what the 49ers know and what they don't know, and to send that message Jacksonville's way. Now, I mentioned earlier, there's the checkers way of analyzing things, and there's the chess way of analyzing things. I already see some of the simplistic Jacksonville media going out there and saying, the 49ers, they're already making excuses, as if one of the most accomplished defensive coordinators in the league would show up before a game against an offense that hasn't done all that much this year in Jacksonville. They've been okay. They definitely haven't been great. This has been a defense-driven team. I'm sure that Robert Saleh, who's been playing chess all season long with some of the machinations defensively, is just shaking in his boots right now, to the point where he has to go up to the press conference mic trembling, accusing his next opponent of cheating. I'm sure he has to do that to make an excuse before this game. I think that's a very checkers way of thinking about this, to put it nicely. If you want to think about this in terms of actual strategy, no, Robert Saleh is not afraid of Jacksonville entering this game. Robert Saleh respects Jacksonville just like he respects any NFL opponent. This is a good coaching staff with Liam Cohen and Grant Udinsky, and he wants to gain as much of a competitive advantage as he can. Just like the Jaguars are going to be trying to gain as much of a competitive advantage as they can through the reading of some of the 49ers' tendencies and their hand signals, the 49ers can go right back at them and lessen their confidence in their pre-snap procedures. So this is the mental warfare of the NFL. And you're going to see a lot of really, really bad takes, if you haven't already, that are a little too simplistic about this. Oh, they're making excuses. No, they're actually trying to gain an advantage the same way that Jacksonville's trying to gain an advantage, although they're doing it through the media, because they know that Jacksonville is going to hear about the legal sign stealing foreknowledge from Robert Saleh. I find this kind of stuff awesome. I think that, if you zoom out bigger picture, the Sean McVay coaching tree and the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree have grown simultaneously. Both Kyle and Sean entered the league as head coaches in 2017, obviously with the 49ers and the Rams, respectively. We know that the history traces back to them being on the same staff in Washington, which adds even more intrigue. It's these young guys taking over the league. I think I have Mike Silver's book I did have it. Now it must be in Nashville right now. I have looking back there. I have the John Madden book. No, the Mike Silver book might be over there on the shelf. I'll pick it up in a little bit. I mean, I have to get this book really quickly. Give me a second. We're gonna grab it. Let's put the roster up here for a second while I leave the camera, because I think that this is the perfect little segue as we discuss what's going on here with these two coaching staffs. There's Robert Saleh. Actually, we can just keep Robert Saleh up there for now. That works for me. Just give me a second. So Mike did a great job with this book. It's called The Why is Everything. I've reassumed my position. And here we go. So this is, I know that the ring light is giving this a little bit of a reflection, but the why is everything with McVay, Shanahan, McDaniel, LaFleur, Raheem Morris, and now the further downstream effect of the tree. I guess you could consider Robert Saleh technically being in the Shanahan tree because he's a coordinator under him, but he's on the defensive side of the ball. But Liam Cohn was the offensive coordinator under McVay. Udinsky, let me see if Grant Udinsky, the Jacksonville offensive coordinator, ever worked directly under McVay, or if this is just knowledge passed down further down the tree. It doesn't look like it. Udinsky was with the Panthers as a coaching assistant in 2020 and 2021, then with the Vikings. But the Vikings obviously have Kevin O'Connell, and Kevin O'Connell comes directly from the Sean McVay tree. A lot of people might be asking, I thought that the communication in football was all electronic, and it's not all electronic. The initial play call is delivered from the sideline or from the booth, from the defensive coordinator to usually the Mike linebacker, the player with the radio in his helmet. But from there, the Mike linebacker has to get the play call out to the other 10 players. That's where a lot of nonverbal communication comes in. Plus, on top of all the hand signals that are going to be delivered defensively, there are also going to be formational tells. So as you heard Robert Saleh say, the 49ers have to be on their P's and Q's when it comes to disguising their formations, obviously disguising their hand signals. They have to be unpredictable at the line of scrimmage. Otherwise, there's a really good chance that Jacksonville, just like Minnesota last year against the Jets, is going to be able to pop off a few explosive plays when they see the 49ers in a certain formation that they think they can exploit. So this is the game behind the game. And Robert Saleh is already playing it right now as he prepares for this matchup against Jacksonville. I absolutely love this kind of stuff. If you have any questions about it right now, let me know. We can talk about how today's going to work. I'm going to be headed down to the 49ers team facility. We're going to find out the official injury statuses of Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. Brock Purdy is on track to start for the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan even confirmed that on KMBR yesterday. Purdy just needs to stay on that track. He needs to not suffer a setback with the toe injury that has kept him out over the past 2 games. But so far, so good this week, knock on wood. We never like anybody to get hurt for Brock Purdy. Interesting factoid from yesterday is that Kyle Shanahan said that Brock is actually doing more at practice than Mac Jones, that Mac Jones is more limited with his knee injury. That's the left knee that he suffered in week 2 and aggravated last week. Mac is more limited than Brock Purdy this week, which essentially sealed it in my mind. I mean, it was already, I've been telling you guys since Wednesday that Brock Purdy is on very firm track to start this week. Maybe I was even saying it before, but that is continuing to materialize into something that we should see on Sunday. Big return for the 49ers, given the fact that Jacksonville, this is a defense-oriented football team. It's funny that we're talking about Robert Saleh against the Jacksonville offense, but the bigger threat to San Francisco is almost undoubtedly the Jacksonville defense. They rank number 2 in EPA per play so far this year. They lead the league with 7 interceptions. This is going to be a real test for Brock Purdy and company. The Jags, what they have defensively is really interesting because they're so strong at the edge rusher position. I mean, they double up in strength at the edge rusher position. And obviously the 49ers lost one of the best in the game in Nick Bosa to the ACL. So now they're going to be relying on replacements on the other side of Bryce Huff, who's been really good. The Jags have their guys there. They've got Trayvon Walker, the former top pick in the draft. They have Josh Hines-Allen, the established veteran on the other side. They have Eric Armstead, who can rush from the edge, but is going to be working against the guards in the tackle position. I thought one of the 49ers' biggest weaknesses in their week 3 win over the Arizona Cardinals was the guard position. And Connor Colby was playing with a groin injury that he suffered on Thursday in his first NFL start. He gave up 5 pressures. Dominic Pooney also struggled. And they struggled in the run game, too, against Arizona. So can the 49ers guards be better against a Jacksonville front that we know features a solid player in Eric Armstead there on the inside? And we can suspect that they're going to take one of their edge guys in Trayvon Walker or in Josh Hines-Allen and try to work him against guards in some pass rushing situations. It's exactly what the Cardinals did last week with Josh Sweat when they moved him against Connor Colby. So that's the big test for the 49ers is, can you play disciplined football against Jacksonville's defense? Can you steal enough of Jacksonville's signals as the 49ers offense to move the ball downfield and then convert in the red zone against them? The 49ers offense has not been great so far this year, and they're going to need to be great if this team is going to reach its goals. Now, I understand they've been missing pieces. That's the primary reason why they haven't been great. Brock Purdy was awesome in week 1, the last time that we saw him. As a little bit of a comparison, let me get some numbers out from yesterday's game. By the way, 49ers at the top of the NFC West, as you can see right here. San Francisco 3-0. The Seahawks won last night, 23-20, a little 3-point win. Nice little 3-point win over the Arizona Cardinals. And we have our quarterback comparison from that game yesterday. Just got to get it out right here. Boom. There we go. That is the EPA per play comparison between the two QBs in Cardinals Seahawks. And Kyler Murray, not very good, right? I think he's the worst quarterback in the NFC West. To give you some perspective, Murray, who was at negative 0.04 EPA per play, so below average in this game against the Seattle defense, Brock Purdy registered a 0.41 EPA per play, which is about where Sam Darnold was against the Cardinals, but that's what Brock Purdy did on the road against Seattle. And Seattle's defense is maybe the best in the league. They think they are. I think it's a top 5 defense. We'll see who delivers the best one in the league by the time that the dust settles this year. But just to give you an idea of how good Brock Purdy was in week 1, it was exponentially better than Kyler Murray was for the Cardinals against the Seahawks last night. Now, obviously, the Cardinals were able to make that game close. I think the NFC West is going to be a dogfight this year. Even the worst team or the worst offense for sure, the Cardinals have a chance to make some noise. They're 2-2 now, and they fought hard in the fourth quarter yesterday against the Seahawks. But I think that the 3 at the top are the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Rams. I think that the Cardinals are a cut below because the quarterback isn't as good. And Marvin Harrison Jr. can't catch the football. Oh, he finally did in the second half yesterday. But, the problem is he got one good in-rhythm throw from Kyler Murray within a scheme of an offense instead of, fade balls in the second half. Sure, you can catch a fade ball. That's great. But can you catch in rhythm when you're at the risk of being decapitated coming over the middle of the field? I think that's another thing entirely. The problem is that Kyler Murray can't give you all too many of those opportunities because he can't see over the pocket. So what Arizona ends up doing is throwing a lot of prayer balls. And Marvin Harrison Jr. might be okay at catching some of those. We saw that with a touchdown and then with the big conversion late in the game yesterday. But it's just not a sustainable way of running offense. They average 4 yards per play yesterday. The Seahawks averaged 6. I thought it was remarkable that this game was decided by only 3 points given the discrepancy in efficiency. I just don't think that Arizona can run an offense with the sustainability necessary to compete in this division, as long as Kyler Murray is struggling to hit the middle of the field. Something Russell Wilson struggled with in Seattle, especially toward the later years, and I think it's something that Kyler Murray struggles with even more. If you can take away enough of that run game, if you are the opposing defense, then you could really put Arizona in a bind. All right. Anyway, I'm going to get the preview for 49ers and Jags back up on the screen. This is what it looks like. Here you go. Oops. Yeah, there. That's much better. Don't want to take up the whole screen, but this is up on the San Francisco Standard. Our predictions are there, so you should go ahead and check it out. That's from Tim, and it's from me. Tim thinks lower scoring game than I do. I think no Bosa means, and all the Jags sign stealing, the legal sign stealing means that some points are going to be scored. I'm joking about the second part of that. But I think that the reintroduction of Brock Purdy into the fold for the 49ers also means that their scoring rate is going to go up. So I actually think the 49ers can go over 20 in this game. I don't think they're going to approach 30. I think Jacksonville's defense is really, really good. But I see this as an opportunity for the 49ers to really begin the ascent that they need to begin offensively. I always talk about the big picture formula for San Francisco being top 3 offense, at least a top 5 offense to pair with the top half defense. I mean, if they're top 5 in both, then they'd be set. But I don't know if that's realistic defensively without Nick Bosa. We'll see what Robert Saleh can cook up, especially now that he's sending messages to the Jaguars before the game. But I do think that the 49ers offense is going to have to be the locomotive that moves the train. The interesting part of everything is that the special teams has been playing much better for the 49ers over the course of the past 2 weeks. They haven't been perfect. There are some areas where they absolutely need to be better because they're leaving way too much efficiency on the table. I mean, the kicks going into the end zone on a repeated basis are just not it for the 49ers. The opposing average field position, starting field position, is the 35 for 49ers opponents, and that is the worst figure in the league. The 49ers need to be better with placing these kickoffs in the landing zone and then covering them appropriately, because the best team in the league is only allowing a 21-yard line opposing starting field position. It's a 15-yard difference from what the 49ers are allowing. That's so big. You saw it yesterday with the game. Arizona, after scoring the game-tying touchdown, doesn't hit the landing zone. So the ball comes out to the 40 as part of that penalty. I mean, the touchback is just barely less punitive at the 35-yard line, right? Consider the fact that these NFL kickers, they can make from 55 like machines now. So if you're making a field goal from 55 yards, all you have to do is get the ball just inside the 40, right? So if you're getting the ball at the 40, all you have to do is move it about 20 yards and you're in field goal range. From the 35, 25 yards and you're in field goal range. That's one chunk play, and you're in scoring range now if that ball starts at the 35-yard line, which has been the average starting field position coming off of kickoffs for 49ers opponents. So it's not so hidden loss of point value for the 49ers. That they've got to be better in that regard on special teams. Obviously, Sky Moore can't be fielding punts, like calling for fair catches inside his 5-yard line. That's not good either. But I will say that Sky looks, and knock on wood, looks very sure-handed catching the ball. Like, he didn't make the right decision as far as a fair catch went against the Cardinals late in that game. But it looks like he's in good position to catch the ball cleanly and has the confidence to do so. I mean, you got to have some confidence to field a punt inside your 5-yard line. A lot can go wrong in that situation trying to catch the ball. And he also looks like he's got a sturdy enough frame to handle some of that initial contact, which can be a concern because you're kind of a sitting duck there as a punt returner. So that part of the game, I think, has improved, but part of it has declined. The 49ers are actually doing a decent job in kick returns. They're obviously doing a very good job in field goals ever since making the switch from Jake Moody to Eddie Pinheiro. And I think that Thomas Morstead has been really good as far as pinning opponents inside their 20, 10, sometimes even inside their 5-yard line as the punter. So the 49ers special teams, they lost 11 expected points in week 1. I mean, speaking of the Seahawks, they look so good right now, right? But the 49ers beat them on the road. And if they hadn't lost 11 expected points on special teams, if they had just played that even, the 49ers would have beaten them by 2 touchdowns. They won by 4 and they lost 11 on special teams, right? So the 49ers have added 2 expected points. They've been in the positive for 2 straight games now against both the Saints and the Cardinals. If that continues, they're going to be back up at net zero special teams, which is exactly where they need to be. I mean, if that continues through the whole year, if they're just adding 2 points of value on special teams per game, then they're going to be one of the better special teams units in the league, despite that terrible week 1 performance at Seattle. So we obviously can't forget about that phase of the game, but it has been good for the 49ers over the course of the past 2 weeks. And they will rely on some consistency there, especially since the defense is probably going to be going through some changing pains. We'll say that. Not growing pains, changing pains, just given the fact that Nick Bosa is no longer going to be out there. Talk a little bit more about Jacksonville. De'Ami Brown is probably their most dynamic wide receiver. No more Calvin Ridley. Last time the 49ers played Jacksonville was Ridley, who's now with the Tennessee Titans. It's an offense. ETN is one of the 2 running backs on this team. He was Trevor Lawrence's former teammate over at Clemson. You look at the Jaguars' offensive output so far in this 2025 season, and it hadn't been particularly astounding. I mean, they opened up the season against the Panthers and they scored 26 points. So that was solid. And then they scored 27 against the Bengals, but only 17 last week against the Texans. And that Bengals game, that was a loss, by the way, for Jacksonville. So they've been okay offensively. The efficiency has been right around the middle of the pack of the NFL. Again, it's been the defense that has led the way for this football team. And we're still early enough in the season to where not everything is fully materialized yet as far as, okay, where are these teams going to rank? I know for the fact the 49ers think they're going to be much better offensively as they start to get some guys back, as they start to really find their stride over the course of this season. I do find it interesting that Jacksonville managed those 17 points against DeMeco Ryans defense, which does share some in common with what Robert Saleh and the 49ers are running. So by far, Jacksonville's worst performance so far of this season offensively. It did come in a win, but it did come last week against the defense that has some similarities with what the 49ers are bringing to the table. All right, does anybody have any questions about sign stealing, legal sign stealing, chess playing, checkers playing, anything of the above? I am happy to answer them right now. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Jacksonville's depth chart, what they bring to the table, and I'll loop it in here with some of the questions that you might have. Travis Hunter obviously playing that 3rd wide receiver position for Jacksonville. Ooh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to play you some Chase Lucas. I promised this yesterday. I got to transfer it from my phone to my computer, but this is from the 49ers locker room, just because the 49ers are going to be playing a guy who is competent on both sides of the football, an exciting rookie, a 1st-round pick, Travis Hunter, who can deliver on both sides as both a receiver and a cornerback. I figured I'd talk to the Travis Hunter of the 49ers, and that is Chase Lucas, who is no longer doing that. Last year for the scout team, when he was on the practice squad, Chase Lucas was playing both ways, and you'll hear from him here in the interview. He's a very, very good interview. I love talking to Chase Lucas, who forced his way onto the 53-man roster. But I thought that it was good perspective given what the 49ers will be facing. Now, Hunter's not going to be, I think, overly involved at this point for he's the 3rd cornerback for the Jaguars. He's the 3rd receiver for them. So it's not like he's a big-time star on both sides. They got Brian Thomas Jr., De'Ami Brown on that offensive side of the ball. 2 good wideouts on this team. Travis Hunter's the 3rd behind them, so there should be some action for him. Maybe we see Travis Hunter against Upton Stout for Jacksonville. And, of course, on defense, I mean, this is a good team, especially on defense. They have some talent. So with Jerrion Jones at the left corner position and with Tyson Campbell at the other corner position, that's why Travis Hunter is slotted in as the third corner, that you're just going to see in some more pass-heavy packages. But I do want to hear from our man Chase Lucas in that 49ers locker room. Here you guys go.
All right, so Travis Hunter's coming to town, and it reminds me of last year. You're doing a lot of scout team stuff, and you said, Travis Hunter or the 49ers?
Had to, man.
What was last year, and are you doing any of that this year, or now that you're on the 53, is it different?
Nah, it's different. It's different now. Last year was a grind, man. It was, I had to go be on scout team on defense, and then as soon as the offense came on, man, I would have to go do scout team on offense. I was a running back. I was a wide receiver. I was a corner. I was a nickel. I was a safety. I was everything you could possibly say, bro. So I feel like me just saying that was just kind of shouting out Travis Hunter as well, but also just showing I could do whatever it takes on the field as a skilled player.
From a conditioning standpoint, how tough is it to not have a breather in between any of this stuff?
And I ain't gonna lie, it make you feel like you built different, honestly, man. Because just going and seeing people getting water and you going to the next station, man, going to the next position, it's kind of, I don't want to say terrible feeling, but it's one of them feelings like you just got to gut through, bro. So I see what he be doing, man. I got to give it to him. For him going both ways and playing at a high level, that's some serious business right there.
Now, when you're playing offense, you know where you're going to go. When you're playing defense, it's obviously more reactionary.
Right.
Does defense take a little bit more out of you for that reason?
No. I feel like offense, because there's only one ball, you know what I mean? So there's dudes that, you got to set up dudes for routes. So, if you got a clear out route, you're running 40 yards down the field to take two guys, but you're not getting the ball. So I would say, man, it just depends, but when you out there on that island, man, you playing man-to-man, that's one of them things, boy.
You seem to show up here into 2025 in great shape. We talked about your preseason. You made the 53. How much do you credit what you went through in 2024 to get you ready to play?
Oh, man, I credit it big time. I even tell the coaches that all the time. I said thank you for, all the trials and tribulations that I went through last year, and then I think that made me who I am this year, and I just feel like I'm a better player because of it. But just being during the preseason and not having Stout and any extra nickels and me taking all the reps, I think that kind of set me up for success for this year too.
And then finally, what's your favorite part of Travis's game?
I love him as a receiver, bro. I really do. I know he does a lot of option routes with this offense, but I feel like he's very elusive, man. I think once he gets the ball in his hands, he can do anything. He can cut. He can get a hard physical 4 yards. I like him at receiver for sure.
All right, Travis Hunter. Chase likes him at receiver. Maybe we see a Travis Hunter, Chase Lucas matchup in this game if Chase gets some playing time. That probably would require an injury, so that wouldn't be good for the 49ers. But you've always got to be ready in this game. Chase came in for a few snaps against New Orleans Saints. He plays a lot of special teams, and he's really good at it. Could play that gunner position well. Got in better shape, I think, just because he had to play so much last year in practice. That really helped. As you heard him say, it helped him set the standard for what he had to do for San Francisco. So Chase, one of the good guys in that 49ers locker room, the Travis Hunter of the 49ers in 2024, delivered for them both sides of the ball in practice, scout team stuff. You heard all the positions that he listed, and now the 49ers get to play Travis Hunter tomorrow. Mark asking, can teams be fined for sign stealing? No. So what Jacksonville is accused of doing, or not even accused, because accused makes it sound like it's illegal. What Robert Saleh says Jacksonville is doing is not illegal. They would have to be illegally videotaping other coaches. They're not. They're looking at tendencies. They see a sign on the field and they correlate it with a certain defensive play call or a certain defensive alignment, and then they exploit that alignment accordingly. On some level, every single NFL team is doing something like this. They should be doing something like this. But the McVay coaching tree, and you see, obviously, Jacksonville is part of that, does it better than most teams, especially Grant Udinsky, who comes from the Minnesota Vikings. That's the O'Connell branch of the McVay coaching tree. He did it with Minnesota last year. They played the Jets. Again, I think that was the final game of the Saleh tenure with the Jets in London. I think they lost to the Vikings with Sam Darnold playing quarterback for Minnesota. So he's come over from the Vikings. Now he works for Liam Cohen, who directly worked under Sean McVay. Robert Saleh noting that Minnesota, or that both Minnesota and now Jacksonville, just this staff in general, has a track record of success doing this. He's emphasizing it's not illegal. This is not something that Jacksonville is going to be fined for. The reason that Robert Saleh is bringing it up is to sow some doubt in the minds of the Jaguars, both their coaching staff and their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. And that doubt, from the 49ers perspective, will cause the Jags to wonder if the 49ers have figured out a couple of signs. I think it's as simple as that. You make them a little more hesitant. Even if it's a split second, it's worth it. Robert Saleh using a press conference, using the media to try to sow some doubt in what Jacksonville is doing. I think it's typical gamesmanship. I think that it's fascinating because we have a look at some of the cerebral warfare that is happening between NFL coaches. And this, a lot of stuff happens, a lot of subterfuge, if you call it. There's a lot that happens on a week-by-week basis as they prepare these game plans because, again, every inch matters in this league. It is I could say it's a game of millimeters. We can go smaller than an inch. You're really, really trying to find every possible advantage that you can. And I think that the Jags have every right to do what they're doing, and Salah has every right to try to sow some doubt in their minds. We've got a new member, JT. Thanks, JT. Anybody who's a member, by the way, you could join the chat channel that we have, the group chat. Let's see how the group chat is doing, by the way. I'm going to answer the group chat right now. So anybody on the group chat while watching this? Well, I accidentally opened Chat GPT. I don't want to do that. I want to go to the other chat. Yeah, we have our little David Lombardi lounge. Oh, yeah. Mike has even put the video up on the group chat, as you can see here. I know it's going to be... It's a little, that ring light creates some trouble, but look, I can type in, hello, everyone who's watching me type or talk on the live right now. Boom. So I just sent the message, hello, everyone who's watching me talk on the live right now. And then hopefully somebody's actually watching while they're on the group chat, and they can answer. We only have a few members on there right now, but we're trying to grow this. So if you want to become a member of the channel, it's going to be one of the many cool perks. More coming over the course of this 2025 season. Ernie asks, what will the 49ers record realistically be at the end of the season? Well, I mean, I predicted, what did I predict? 11-6, I think I predicted at the start of the year. I could stick with that. Maybe they're going to be a little bit better if Brock Purdy and the offense gets healthy and continues staying healthy, even without Nick Bosa. But I think 11-6 is fair. I think 12-5 is fair. They have started 3-0, right? So that's really important to note. They've got 3 wins socked in the bank. Tony asking, how does Demarcus Robinson fit on the depth chart with Kendrick Bourne and Marquez Valdes-Scantling? It seems like all the receivers are interchangeable depending on availability. Yes, that is the goal for Kyle Shanahan, is receiver interchangeability, because that allows you to absorb the injury ebbs and flows of an NFL season. There's Chase Lucas. Here is the 49ers depth chart. So I've put Demarcus Robinson in there. I have him as the third wideout right now. I stopped listing this as X, Z, F because there is a certain degree of interchangeability. Pearsall's the X this year. Jennings played a lot of the X last year. Jennings is going to be questionable for this game. We'll find out a little bit more later today. But as you can see here, I think your top 3 guys, and Robinson might take a little while to work into the mix for the 49ers, but the top 3 guys are Pearsall, Jennings, and Robinson. Kendrick Bourne, probably your 4th best wide receiver. Marquez Valdes-Scantling would be number 5, but Sky Moore has more roster protection because he returns punts and kicks. Jordan Watkins is hurt right now, odd man out, and then you've got practice squad reinforcements in Russell Gage, Malik Turner, and then Junior Bergen is the backup for Sky Moore. Do I have Junior Bergen? Yeah, I'd have Junior Bergen down here. Practice squad backup for special teams. When somebody like Brandon Ayuk returns, probably still a while away. So they're almost certainly going to be another injury reality at the time, right? How do you fit Brandon Ayuk at the time that he does return? Well, you'll see where you are health-wise. But if, say, he was coming back today, which isn't the case, he probably knocks Marquez Valdez-Scantling off of the 49ers roster. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. I wanted to go through some of the sign-stealing drama. I think that Robert Saleh is sending a nice message to the Jaguars. We'll see how much doubt it plants in their head. But if it plants just a little doubt in their head regarding some of their calls, regarding some of what they're seeing, well, then that's a win for the 49ers. Robert Saleh has been playing chess this year, not checkers. I mean, everything from the blitzing to all the alignments that we've seen to the coverage disguises. He's probably going to have to do more of that now without Nick Bosa. He's going to have to play as much chess as possible. We're seeing a continuation of that with his message to Jacksonville through yesterday's press conference. All right. Hope you learned something today. Take care. We'll see you soon.